Good morning, students. Welcome to the online class for Standard 8. And today we'll continue the chapter The Fun They Had, which is written by Isaac Asimov. So let's discuss the questions which I had given you in the previous class. Margie wrote in her diary. The correct answer is diary. The date mentioned by her was, what is the date there? 17th May 2155. Who found a real book? Tommy found a real book. The grandfather once told that all the stories were printed in paper, the way we are reading the books. The pages were yellow and crinkly. Crinkly means wrinkled. As it was very old book, the pages had turned into yellow color and it was wrinkled. It was awfully funny to read that the books or the words in that book stood still instead of moving in the way they had in the computer screen. Tommy called the book as waste. The books or the stories which were written or which were printed in paper were considered as waste for Tommy, as it contained only a small amount of stories in that, whereas in the books which were there in the computer screen, they had millions and millions of stories. So Tommy called it as a waste. Margie was 11 years old and Tommy was 13 years old. They had DAS instead of real books. What they had? They had telebooks. They had telebooks instead of real books, where the stories were displayed on the computer screen. Tommy found the book in the attic. She was dash when she heard that the book was about dash. So she was scornful and she didn't like it. And when she heard that the book which they found from the attic, it was about the school. So let's come to the thing. She said, "Where did you find it?" "In my house," he pointed without looking, because he was busy reading in the attic. So they found the book in the attic. What is it about? School. So Margie was scornful. School? What's there to write about school? I hate school. So we came to know that Margie, so she was, you can say, hateful about the schools. She hated it. She never liked them. And let's see what is the reason behind that. The mechanical teacher had been giving her test after test in geography, and she had been doing worse and worse until her mother had shaken her head sorrowfully and sent for the county inspector. So what's the problem with her? That the mechanical teacher, so you can underline that one, mechanical teacher. So what kind of teacher they had? They had a robot. You can see in the picture, they had a teacher that is a mechanical one. So the mechanical teacher was giving her test after test every day without explaining anything. The mechanical teacher was giving test only. In which subject? Geography. And what is the result of it? Was she doing very good? Was she improving? No. Rather, she was doing worse and worse. Her marks, her performance is deteriorating day by day. She was not doing at all good. And the mother became worried, shaken her head sorrowfully refers that the mother became worried for Margie, that why she was not doing good and why the mechanical teacher was giving test after test. So finally, what she did? She sent for the county inspector. So what is a county inspector? You can see the person who repaired the mechanical teacher. So you can see the picture of that man, and the description is given in the next paragraph. He was a round little man with a red face and a whole box of tools with dials and wires. As I had told you that the mechanical teacher, perhaps there was some technical fault, technical problem. So who was called by the mother? County inspector. The county inspector came, and he was what kind of person? he was? In appearance, he was a round little man. You can see in the picture. And the face was of which color? Red. A red face. And what he was carrying with him? A whole box of tools with dials and wires. You can see the picture. So he had a toolbox and which had some instruments which will help him to repair the mechanical teacher. He smiled at her and gave her an apple. He refers to here the county inspector. And what he did? He smiled at whom? At Margie. And gave her what? An apple to eat. Then took the teacher apart. And took the teacher apart means he took the teacher away. Margie had hoped he wouldn't know how to put it together again, because we know that Margie was scornful about school. She hated school. She never liked the mechanical teacher, and she hoped that the county inspector wouldn't know how to repair it again or how to put it together again. So here it refers that the mechanical teacher which developed some technical fault wouldn't be repaired by the county inspector. Who hoped this? Margie. But he knew how to set it all right, and after an hour or so, there it was again, large and black and ugly, with a big screen on which all the lessons were shown and the questions were asked. That wasn't so bad. The part she hated most was the slot where she had to put homework and test papers. She always had to write them out in a punch code they made her learn when she was 6 years old, and the mechanical teacher calculated the marks in no time. So now, what happened? The county inspector, within an hour, he repaired the mechanical teacher, and Margie was disappointed. She wasn't at all happy. She thought it will take time, and the county inspector wouldn't be able to repair it. He wouldn't know how to repair it. But after an hour or so, it was again ready, and ready with a large and black and ugly. You can underline these adjectives which she described. So it shows that Margie was not at all happy, or he was not at all satisfied with the mechanical teacher. And how she describes it? Large, black and ugly. And what it had? It had a big screen. And what was displayed on that big screen? All the lessons were shown and the questions were asked. And she didn't like, it was not too bad. It was not so bad. The part which she hated or she didn't like is the slot or the place where she had to put her homework and test papers. As we know, the geography sector was giving test after test, so she didn't like it. So the part which she hated the most was the slot or the place where she had to put homework and test papers. And how she used to write them? So in a punch code. You can underline that, punch code. And how old was she when she learned it? She was 6 years old. And the mechanical teacher calculated the marks in no time. So the mechanical teacher was able to calculate, as it was a machine, and it within no time it calculated the marks. And let's see. The inspector had smiled after he was finished and patted her head. He said to her mother, "It's not the little girl's fault, Mrs. Jones." So what is the name of the mother? Mrs. Jones. "I think the geography sector was geared a little too quick. Those things happen sometimes." So the inspector, he smiled and patted on the head of Margie and said to the mother that it's not the fault. It's not the fault of whom? Margie. Rather, it was the fault of the mechanical teacher. It developed some technical fault. And what was that? The geography sector was geared up. Okay, it was geared a little quick. So these things happen sometimes. He assured the mother that the performance of Margie is good and it's not too bad. It's not that you should worry for her. Rather, it was the mistake of the machine, mechanical teacher or the robotic teacher. And those things happen sometimes. It's a technical fault which happens sometimes. I have slowed it up to an average 10 years level. So how old was Margie? 11 years. So the mechanical teacher was leveled, or it was slowed up to the average age of 10 years. And the overall pattern of her progress is quite satisfactory, and he patted Margie's head again. So the county inspector consoled Mrs. Jones, the mother of Margie, and told her that the progress of Margie is satisfactory. There is no problem with her. So she is coping up well with the mechanical teacher, but the mechanical teacher developed some fault, and because of that, what happened? So she was doing worse. And what was the problem? You can underline that the geography sector was geared a little too quick. And what he did? He slowed it up to an average 10-year level. Arki was disappointed. She had been hoping that what she hoped? They would take the teacher away altogether. They had once taken Tommy's teacher away for nearly a month because his history sector had blanked out completely. So Margie was very sad. She was disappointed, and she thought that the county inspector will take the mechanical teacher away for a month, so she won't have to study at all. She won't have to undergo this test and homeworks. She will be free. She will enjoy her time. And but bad luck, you can say, unfortunately for her, the mechanical teacher was ready within an hour. And what happened to Tommy's teacher? So it was taken away for how many days? 30 days, for a month. So because his history sector had blanked out completely. What was the fault with Tommy's teacher? That the history sector had blanked out completely. But within an hour, Margie's mechanical teacher was ready, and it was ready with the lessons. And let's see what happened next in the next class. Till then, you read the chapter, and we will discuss it again. Thank you.